Hello.
Hello, I'm just working in the background until we start.
Okay, great. I'm having the same problem I had last time with Zoom. It's setting me up as Cheryl instead of myself, even though I'm logged in as myself.
Okay, I'm gonna keep working in the background because I'm out on vacation. I'm in the woods. I'm literally in the little town 20 miles away's library in their back room they're letting me do it to take the class today.
Okay.
So until you're ready to start, I
Um,
know that
no, I'm
what's
ready
it? I know that
I'm ready to start. I'm going to
Bonnie, was it Bonnie? She has trouble logging in every time, so I don't know if she's usually a few minutes late every time.
No, I understand. So, yep. No.
Can I finish sending one email? And I will be, yeah, if you let me do that, sorry. We're out in my partner's cabin in the middle of nowhere, so I get a little bit of cell coverage. I'm gonna try to take the class on Wednesday from the cabin on my phone.
Okay.
I'll talk, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll just be off camera because there's not enough power to do a video feed, but we're literally in the woods in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I get that. No worries. Well, thank you for being here.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if
Thank you for doing this, yeah.
if you need to be off of camera, that's
Yes, oh, there she is, great.
okay. You know what? I'm gonna try to do one thing here. Mm, okay. All right. Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
Okay, now I'm present. I'm back in present.
Okay, perfect.
Now I'm unmuted.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. How's everybody doing?
You're doing better if clients didn't deliver the mother load 30 seconds before the session ends.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I get it. All right. All right. So today we're going to talk about client agreement and coachability, and then we're going to listen. So no one's coaching today. We're going to listen to a session, and then we are going to next class. Let me just try it. Let me reconfirm. And then next class, Bonnie, you'll be coaching Allison.
Okay,
So
I will let you know. I'm hoping that I'm 100 can make it. I'm gonna try. Like I said, I'm not gonna come back into town for it. I tried to get into Zoom without video today from the cabin and it worked. So I won't be on video, but I will try. I should be there.
well, you're going too fast for me today. So what I was going to ask is because of the technology, Bonnie, would you be okay with coaching today and next class we could do the video?
The only thing is,
We gotta chance it.
I don't even, I have never done it. I mean, I
Yeah.
try to use, because I'm reading the transformation book and I'm actually really loving it.
Great.
And working on the mind shift to see my people as thinkers. And that I'm observing thinking. And so but I have no idea where to start coaching. I
That's
just
okay.
I don't even have a model to work from.
Well,
Like,
you have the sheet that we talked about last time. So on that sheet there are example questions, and what we like that's the model, right? So you're
Okay.
just gonna
sample
there,
questions. So we have the markers,
yeah,
right? I know 3.1, 3.2, 3.3.
yeah,
I have that, and then in mine it'll tell you, or it asks you whether or not somebody did something, and then leave you room for comments on it. But I
yeah,
don't
that's not what
remember
I'm
a
talking.
sheet of questions.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. In
Okay.
the chapter there, and in the up coach, I could show you in up coach, there's actually a model. So I'll find it for you. Give me 2 seconds.
That would help.
Okay, because
I guess the short answer is, well, I didn't see that coming, so I'm not prepared.
so this is the thing with coaching.
Mm.
It's just like having a conversation, because there's nothing that you're gonna need to know. It's just a set of questions, right? And what happens is there's just a specific set of questions you need to ask that we talked about last class, which is the coaching agreement, right? So like, what do you want to talk about? And what do you want to have, but in like your terms, like you asking it that way. And then from there, you're just gonna listen. And if you're talking more than you're actually listening, then you're not coaching, right? And
Right.
if what you're talking is not open-ended questions and you're giving advice or doing anything like that, you're not coaching. So the only thing we look out for is we start the conversation of, we clear them right quick a little bit. And then you're gonna be like, okay, so Allison, what do you want to talk about today? Right? And you get that topic from her and you're like, okay, great. So what do you want to have? And in the model that I'm going to show you, I'm going to find it in 2 seconds. It literally has step by step, like ask this question, ask that question, ask that question. And then you're going to confirm that coaching agreement. After that, for you, it's going to be totally natural to ask questions, open-ended questions, because that's what you do all day long anyways, right? So I don't
Yeah.
want you to freak out about it. And this is a totally safe space. And we're gonna have to rip the Band-Aid at some point. So
Yes,
there's
we
nothing,
are.
and there's nothing in that transformational coaching book that's going to give you the, okay, this is what I need to do. Because that book for me is more about like the mindset around coaching, as opposed to these are the steps on how to coach. Right. So let me show you the book.
Everybody has told me, because I'm a therapist, that this is going to be really hard and hardly any therapists get good at it. So I have created in my own
Yeah.
space, self-inflicted,
Yeah.
this thing of that I'm having to fight against. You can't do it. So I've got two me's, one that says you can't do this, and the other's going, shut up.
Yeah. Got it. Loud and clear. And the thing is that you can do this. And it's going to be way easier than you expect it to be.
My first coach was a former therapist. She was awesome.
So
Okay.
also, would you feel better if we went today and I could actually see, like, how do you feel about it while she's getting?
I am here to be in service of you today when you're ready to coach. The reason we're talking about coaching today and not Wednesday is my connection might be spotty on Wednesday. Because
Okay.
I'm gonna be in the woods literally on Wednesday. And so I'm gonna be just doing audio only on Wednesday. And so what the thought was is that while I'm in the library, I'm 20 miles, and I came into the town and I'm in the back room in the library. They're giving me a little room to work in. So we were just thinking for the higher probability of success. So my phone works fine out there. I mean, so if I'm phoned in, we can do it.
Yeah, but why I don't want to do that to her is because she can't see you if you're not going to
Yeah,
be in video. So I would
yeah.
rather I would rather do it today and have it be, so she could see you, she could see your
Yeah.
body language, all of that, as opposed to limiting her.
Okay,
and
that's
not
fine.
having-
Yeah, that's, if that works, I mean, and
So-
again, just pull the Band-Aid off and coach. It's like,
So,
you're,
so
you're
Bonnie,
just, yeah, I would just say, Bonnie, that, um,
hold on,
you,
don't tell
yeah,
her, hold on, stop,
I just,
time out, time out. Understood, Allison, love it. Thank you.
okay,
But I want to make sure, Bonnie, that you're okay. So look, this is the thing. This right here, do you see it on the screen? This coaching model framework right here?
Yes, yeah,
That's the step by step.
okay,
So it's in chapter 1. It's in the introduction chapter. So start the chapter and then you'll be able to just download this right here. So if you
okay.
click on this, it'll download for you and
Yeah, I
it'll,
have it even printed. I just didn't know which
Beautiful.
document you were
yeah,
referring.
it's that one. It's that one. So it's going to give you like just kind of examples. And so this is what I've done. Okay, here, look. And if you want, and you don't need to do this today, but at some point, if you want to, you can go ahead and hold on, let me find it. And sorry, guys, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just trying to just get this kind of set and like, let's just move forward. The problem, so Bonnie, the issue that I'm having on my end is that my Zoom won't connect under me. For some reason, it's under Cheryl and
Yes.
we're gonna overlap. So I might need to log in from my phone, but I wanted to make sure I showed you, like I had a screen if I needed a screen share. So I'm trying to just get this flat and then I can go ahead and,
Your screen share was her.
yeah, because I'm still logged in as her. So I'm waiting to hear if I need to get on my phone. And if I do that, I won't have video for you guys, right? Which is kind of why I'm trying to just figure that out. So what I ended up doing from that, and I'm going to share this with you once it uploads right now. I took that model framework and I want you at some point to just reword it for yourself if that works for you. So for me, what I made it look so that way, what I do is I put it on my desktop when I'm coaching. And if you notice, this is the whole thing. So I took that framework and I just have the questions. See, so like, thanks for being here today. I want, like, this is a judgment-free zone. You don't really even need to say that if you don't want to. I might take some notes if you feel like saying that. You don't have to. So what would you like to focus on? What specifically would you like to walk away with? And then reconfirm it.
Okay,
Those are the 3 things you need to do every time, and that will have you start your coaching. It's that simple.
okay,
Okay. And then after that, you guys are just going to have a conversation.
Okay.
You talk for about 25 minutes tops, right?
Okay.
So you get into it, and then she will create with you, you'll create with her. And then at the end of it, you just try to close it as best as you can. And what that looks like for me is at the beginning of this, you said you wanted to talk about running a marathon. What we got to was, 3 steps in how you're going to succeed. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the plan?
Okay. It
Right?
sounds usual. I tend to, I'm probably lean towards coaching in my therapy.
Perfect. So
I
you're going to
went
be,
from doing psycho ed.
yeah, so you're going to be great. So I don't want you to psych yourself out here that like you need to learn more.
Okay.
Like you just need to practice it now.
Well, I mean, and I'm prepared to go if you guys want to do that. It's for then I don't have to think about it.
Yeah. Sometimes surprise is good.
Yes, sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see how it goes. And like
Okay.
the great part about this class is that y'all are going to be able to do this multiple times until you get super comfortable. And before you even go and test it out on anybody else, you'll have a couple sessions underneath your belt.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Allison, are you okay with that?
yeah, yeah, of course,
You have a topic?
sure.
Okay,
I just-
perfect.
Yeah,
All right. So what we're going to get into today is let's just talk about client agreement and all that. Um, but she's going to remove that passcode on me. Okay. So what I might just do is see if I can log in again under me on my phone.
Isn't technology fun?
It did this to me last class too, and I don't understand it. So,
Well, my last client, I think my computer cut her off 3 times. I finally just hooked it up to my hotspot.
yeah, yeah. So what I might just do is come on here, and if I get into, okay, let me try one thing, okay? Give me 2 seconds.
Can see you, but we can't hear you.
Because I didn't unmute myself.
There you
Okay,
are.
there I am. Okay, we're good. As long as I'm in here, then that's fine. Perfect. So, okay. Everybody can hear me, everybody can see me, we're good. All right, perfect. All right, let me just tell her.
Hopefully my dogs will stay crashed for a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. And this is a thing too, right? Especially for like I have puppies. So the first thing I tell my clients is like, hey, look, if my puppies get loud or whatever, I might just pause the session or, let me know if they're a distraction. And I kind of just preemptively tell them that way, if anything does happen, I'm not scrambling, they're not scrambling. And it's kind of like one of those things, right? So,
They
okay.
start barking, but they're outside, but it'll still be loud. So
Yeah, no worries. No worries on my end. All right. All right. So are we there's everybody? Perfect. Okay. So,
I've got 19 minutes after.
yep. And so we're going to go through this a little. I'm going to give you highlights, and I want you guys, any questions that you might have, feel free to ask. But today what we're going to talk about is client agreements and determining whether or not our clients are even coachable. So when we talk about agreements in coaching, there are two. There is your client agreement, and then there's your coaching agreement. Your client agreement is the agreement that you make with your client as a coach that you're going to work together, right? That you're going to go ahead and you're going to have X amount of sessions, X amount of time for X amount of money. And there's a clause in this document. And so Cheryl provided you with a really good document. There's the clause in the document that the client is acting out of their own free will, that you're not telling them what to do, and it releases us of all liability, right? And then there's the coaching agreement, which we just talked about before we got into this. Like, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to have at the end of the session, right? Like, what's your topic for today? What would be some great action items for you, or like, how do you know we've achieved this, right? And when we talk about the coaching agreement, that's what we're talking about. When we talk about the client agreement, we're talking about the legality of it, of signing them up. So what we really want to make sure is that as we have these conversations with our client, like, everything is super clear. There's clear communication, there's a clear agreement there, and that we emphasize the expectations as we go through them. Okay. So, what we want to make sure is that whatever we set up is beneficial for us, and it's also beneficial for the client. If you don't feel comfortable, meeting a client in person and they're insisting on it, then I have the mindset of, okay, well, then that might not be the person for you. Right. And a lot of times people are going to push what they want from you, meaning, like I have one client right now that if she could talk to me every day, she would. Right. Like, and so you have to figure out how to really set up the agreement that all expectations, there's the understanding and they know what to expect. Right. So for me, I'm like, you can telegram me, you could text me, and just know that I may not get back to you. I'll get back to you definitely within 24 hours. Most of the time I'll get back to you within 2 hours, but like I have a life too, right? Like there's things I have to do. So a lot of times we want to kind of make sure in our client agreement what we're actually providing them. So, you'll set it up like we're going to have 4 sessions. They're going to be for $5, a total sum of $5. You're going to pay them in, in one lump sum or in increments. And then included in this is unlimited email, but I'll respond to 1 email, a day. Because one of the things that's going to happen too is that somebody's going to email you 20 times, right? They have this epiphany in the middle of the night. They email you 20 times, and then they're always doing that. Well, it's unrealistic for us to think that we can do that with every single one of our clients. So we have to set that expectation up. So when I say that to you, what comes up for you guys? What automatically do you think that you would want to provide that you feel like you need to vet a little bit with your clients, if anything?
Well, it's a little different because I'm doing executive and leadership coaching. And so, my clients aren't texting me, they have unlimited email text, they have 15-minute check-in calls anytime between calls until basically the agreement is until somebody abuses it.
Okay.
But it's, these are all really busy professionals. So they don't have time to be bothering me that much. I have to be chasing them to remember to book their appointments, right? So, but no, mine is, basically it's unlimited text and email and these 15-minute check-in calls until somebody abuses it. And it says my availability to talk to them, right? So most of my clients can text me and say, hey, do you have any time today? I have a meeting tomorrow. I wanted to, whatever. And, yeah. And so I haven't had a problem, but again, I'm not life coaching. I'm not trauma coaching. I'm not really my client is not the kind of person that would be bothering me that much.
Got it. And Bonnie, what is it like for you, or what do you feel that you would include, if anything? Anything come up for you?
With my counseling clients, there is a messaging service that they can, but I get things like I can't book an appointment. This system is not working. I don't get private, like it's just understood that they talk to me during their session and we don't talk between sessions. If they need to talk to me again, then there's a crisis, then we book another appointment. It's not, they don't have, my phone number and that kind of thing. So I'm very boundaried about that because I do deal with heavy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like we talked about last week, we talked about like, are you, is our client coachable? Like, are we a match? Like, is this a good fit? Like, and what we want to do now is we want to explore like, okay, well, what do they want to work on? What's their biggest concern? What are their goals? And am I matched? Right? Am I the coach for them? Am I the person that should be taking them on? Right? We can coach with the format that y'all are doing, that we know we do. We can coach anybody on anything, right? My first client, even though I'm a wellness coach, my first client was actually a career coach. And I told her up front, I'm like, look, I'm not a career coach, but I'm happy to help you. And she was like, okay. And we got her we were able to get her a completely different job and she was really happy and, you know, move forward. However, that's not my wheelhouse. That's not what I like to do. And I don't have all the resources that somebody else would. So we want to make sure then too, like, as you're talking to people, like, what are you interested in creating? And do we want to be part of that? Right. And if you kind of get red flags in the beginning on some people, you may not want to even like deal with them either. And you guys know what I mean, right? There's some people that are going to come across that you're like, okay, I really like you, but I don't see this working because of X, Y, or Z. So that's what this conversation is about today. Like, how can we set ourselves up for success and in turn have our clients be supported? So we want to explore what their specific goals are. We want to explore what methods we're going to use in coaching. Like, are you going to do assessments? Are you going to do, you know, different modalities with them? And then we want to take a look at the scope of your relationship, right? Like, what does that look like? How do you interact with each other? Is it somebody that you're familiar with and that they don't hear you as a coach? You know, and we want to capture all of that within our contract and any onboarding documents that we might give them. So it's going to be a collaborative process. Like, you want to get their feedback on this before you move forward. And then once we know that they're coachable and we know that we're a go on the coaching agreement, we then want to make sure that we're using our emotional intelligence to really understand and align with our clients' goals and determine whether or not they're coachable. So in this chapter, you'll see that they use the word coachability, and ultimately what they mean is if they're ethically coachable, right? But also, are they coachable for what we're doing? Are they going to be open? Do they have an open mindset? Are they going to actually do the work that they are asking us to help them set up to do, right? And if we recognize that they're not doing that and they're not a good fit, then we're going to need to have a hard conversation. We're going to need to fire our clients, right? Just like our clients might fire us. We're going to be like, you know what, this isn't working. See you later. And I bring this up because one of the things then is like, you have a signed contract. So in this contract, you want to think about, do you want to write a refund clause in there? Do you want to like spell out what that looks like for you? And you also want to think about, what am I going to do? Right? Like, what do I want it to look like? If once they sign up and they've paid you in full, are you keeping that money? Are you refunding part of it? Like, what? So some people do it in a way of, you know, after the first session, you'll get 90% back. After 4 sessions, you'll get X percentage back. And after, you know, if you set up 10 sessions and you've gone through 8, then, you know, there's a 1-month penalty and you'll get refunded your last one, right? Like, I want you guys to start thinking about what that's going to look like for you. For me, when I've had to let people go, one of the things that I don't do penalties, right? I'm like, you know what? It's totally okay. Like, I would rather have them go and save. Well, hold on. So sometimes what's going to happen is somebody's going to be upset with you. It happens. They're upset with themselves. They're taking it out on you, or maybe, you know, you're not fulfilling on what they thought the agreement was. So for me, I would rather eat the money and refund them than have them go and make this big story online that I gypped them out of money, than keep the money for myself. But that is going to be a personal thing for you guys, like a personal thing for you to think about. How do I want to move forward? In today's society with technology and how close people are, and I just don't want to take the chance. But if you have it in a contract, you can 1000% stand behind it. And that's why we're having this conversation today of setting you up for success of getting a really solid client agreement. Any questions around that? Any comments, statements? You're both in business, so I'm sure you've come across this too. So you already have an idea of what you would want to do.
I typically go session by session, and like with counseling, we have to have a confidential, I can't even think of what it's called now. Basically full disclosure. So and limits of confidentiality and all that other kind of stuff, and what our modality is and our background and how to file a complaint and all that kind of stuff. And then we have intake and all that other stuff, which is separate. So we have a similar protocol to go through ahead of time. And typically they'll get their free 15-minute consultation or whatever. And I usually try to give something transactional during that time so that we know whether or not it's a fit. So hopefully that's worked out by the time we get there, but typically they haven't paid me in advance. So
okay. And usually coaching is opposite, right? Because one of the things that a lot of us don't want to do is just track people down for money. So you'll either get some of it up front. You could set up automatic payments. Like a lot of people will do like a Venmo automatic payment because we're not going through insurance. But for you, that's a little bit different. And it's really going to be based on what you're comfortable with. Right. So if you're going to have it be like a coaching slash, if you're going to go for insurance, then you have to do it that way. But if you're going to step out of that and not do that, then you have the option of either getting paid in full, which a lot of people do, or do month-to-month sessions, month-to-month payments as well. Just to kind of keep that in mind. Allison, anything for you come up?
Well, no, because I'm already doing this, right? I mean, I've been coaching for a while, right? So, I mean, it's prorated. If they, either one of us can stop there, with any time, and if they paid in full, it's prorated.
Okay.
Yeah, they pay either pay in full or they pay monthly. Yeah, so and then as far as the coachability, I will say that I took one client that I shouldn't have. We didn't have the connection, but I needed the money at the time and it wasn't a fit. And it just faded away because he was paying monthly. But yeah, I learned my lesson on that one that, for me, a big part of the coachability is connection as humans. And then there's other stuff. Like I've had people, like some of the companies that refer me, they're like, they want someone who's a parent. I don't have kids. I wanted someone who's a Christian. I told somebody, I'm not a Christian. And so I said, I live a very, there's times that, I've just been honest. I told them it doesn't, as a coach, that doesn't matter, but I also don't sell coaching, right? If they feel that's important to them, it's not my place to tell them that it doesn't matter whether I'm a parent or not. It doesn't change my modality of my coaching. But, but I keep it pretty simple, right? The contract that it's, prorated if they paid in full or if they get ahead. Like sometimes they pay and they had to cancel a session. So it's just usually their 12 sessions or 6 session packages. So they'll get 1 6 or 2 6 or 3 6 back, depending on how far we are.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so the other thing too that we want to, so you'll see in this chapter, there's a list of things to just kind of take a look out for, and when we talk about assessing whether or not they're coachable is like, how open are they to feedback? Right? How committed are they? Are they willing to take the actions? We also want to make sure that they're responsive as well. Like if we point something out to them and we're like, hey, look, you said that you're committed to family. However, you're going to the bar 5 nights a week. Like, can we talk about that for a second? We want to make sure that they're responsive to that, right? That they're like at least willing to hear what we have to say, right? And if they're not committed and they put all these action items in place and then they don't fulfill on any of them, at some point we need to have a conversation of like, look, what are we doing? Like, do you really want this or not? Because, and you have that conversation with them. And we want to make sure that we're also, that our personal, we're doing it in a way where they feel personally connected, right? So that they feel that they're understood and they're supported. But at the same time, right, there's sometimes we need to give them a little bit of tough love or just some like realness to like, this is what I'm seeing here. And sometimes that conversation, if they're not open, if they're not responsive, and if they're not committed, the conversation might be really difficult to do. So, one of the things that I like in this chapter, and again, you'll see, there's a sample text for the client agreement. And I'm going to read it to you. And it's going to be in the document that is created for you guys in your assignments. But it's kind of like a little important thing, is something for you to think about how you want to incorporate that. But it's saying, in our coaching partnership, we prioritize coachability as the engine of your growth. As your coach, I will provide constructive feedback and guidance tailored to your goals. Your role as a client involves embracing this feedback, actively participating in the process, and taking the necessary steps towards change. Compatibility between us is equally vital. Our initial consultations will focus on ensuring our values, communication styles, and expectations are in harmony, setting the stage for a trustful and effective coaching relationship. By signing this agreement, we both commit to fostering an environment where openness, mutual respect, and dedication are paramount. So we want to make sure that they understand they're partnering with us, right? We're not telling them what to do. We're here to support them in the goals, but also there needs to be a mutual respect in there too, right? And then the next steps is to really encourage our clients to self-assess, right? Have them recognize, like, okay, am I ready to take this on? Am I in the mindset? Like, what work do I need to do in order to start on this process? And it doesn't mean that they can't sign up with you, but they want to have us also have their awareness, right? They want to tell us. So that could be one of the first things that we start working on. And that's why a lot of times people will send an assessment or something for them to fill out, right? A list of questions of like, what are your goals? What stops you from your goals? Like, where are you in your life right now? What's working? What's not working, right? Like those kind of questions. So we could then see like, okay, I see where they are. I see where they want to go. I see where they're limited. And then we could start supporting them on, working toward what they really want to create. Right? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, let's see. So when we talk about evaluating our clients' coachability, there's a couple of different questions in this chapter. So we'll do one question. And it's a matter of recognizing if do y'all have your chapter open, chapter 4?
No, open it.
Yeah, so I'm on page 3, and you'll see there's a couple of questions. So what we want to do is see like, okay, what do you think the best response would be? So if you have a potential client in your initial consultation, they've been very successful in their career, but they feel now that they're stuck and they're considering a significant career transition. Right? They're a little skeptical about it. They're skeptical about the coaching process, and they're unsure of what coaching can offer them. So during the conversation, the person is somewhat defensive and challenges the effectiveness of coaching based on past experiences. So it's listing out a couple of responses that we could ask to see how coachable they are. So the first one would sound something like, it sounds like you've had some challenging experiences with coaching in the past. What are you hoping to achieve differently this time around? You could say something like coaching may not be, or part B is coaching may not be for everybody. If you're already doubtful, maybe this isn't the right time for you to start this process. C is I understand your concerns. How about we set some clear measurable goals for the first few sessions to see if coaching can make a difference for you? Or D, why don't we dive right into the coaching process and decide for yourself if it's effective or not? So if your client comes to you, they're not really on board with this whole coaching thing, how do you think you would respond?
For me, it would be A, because I'm asking an open-ended question there.
Yeah.
That being said, after we do that, I often offer, because of the price tag that comes with it, I do offer a sample coaching session, but not on this call.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we
Right.
go through it, then it's like, I just don't really understand. Maybe it's the first time with coaching, right? Then, if they're, a big ticket client, I will offer them, listen, I'd love to gift you a sample session
Mhm.
where you can see what coaching is about, because a lot of people don't understand the difference between coaching and mentoring. And though you go through it with them, and it's just this amorphous thing. So if it's based on the scenario that you described, number one, if there's still this, I just don't understand what this is, but I know I can't stay where I am and I can see they're really leaning into change, then I'll offer the session.
Yeah. But and the key thing here is that you said that it was like a complimentary session, that you're not going to lock them into an agreement.
No, it's
Right?
just that they can see it, and
Yeah.
and I said, I tell them that, especially when people give me referrals, it's like, coaching is about building a connection, a mutual connection that we think would move client towards a gain. It's not selling. It's not, you're not going to get this. So you ready? Are you ready to go? I mean, it's like, it's a different energy, because, because I come from the tech industry, it's like, it's a different energy. We'll get on the phone. We'll give you a sample of what this is. You can see how it works. And if you see that this is the tool that can help you to get your goals, then we'll move forward. If it's not, then we had a great chat.
Yeah.
And we had a great connection, and,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that we got to, and that's it. That's my process with that.
And we could see that D is not the way, right? D like completely dismisses everything and they're like, okay, well, forget what you just said. Let's just hop right into it. Right? Like we don't want to do that.
Yeah. And C, we can't commit to goals. We can't commit to measurable goals, right? I mean,
Well, but they're validating them too, right?
Yeah.
They're like, look, I get your concerns. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and C is kind of like your trial run, like you do, of like, let's just have a coaching session and let's try it out.
Yeah.
Right? So, and B, you're just kind of dismissing them. Right? And it's an okay thing to say, like, maybe this isn't the right time, but we want them to feel empowered in it as
So
well.
I will say though, I was doing a get acquainted call, guy like some of my content on LinkedIn, and I just didn't feel the connection going.
Mhm.
And though I asked him, he's like, I just haven't been wowed, and I'm not wowed. And I said, well, maybe I'm not the coach for you then.
Mhm.
Right. I said, and I said, maybe you're looking for something different. Maybe you're looking for, more challenging masculine energy type of coach, and I can refer that to you. And then he said, no, actually, your last question shifted everything. So it was weird, like it was like the game, I felt like he was playing a little bit of a game and maybe trying to, and I just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
That's not the energy I want to work with. But then I asked him a really challenging question, and that no one's ever asked him before.
Mhm.
And then he shifted, right? But I was willing to say, if this isn't connecting with you, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's okay, right? And maybe maybe if you're looking for a different type of energy in coaching. And he said,
Exactly.
well, I haven't, your last question, which I dismissed, no one's ever asked me that before. So again, I have used B, but that was because he just was like, well, I just want to be wowed, and I'm not wowed by this conversation. It was pretty rude, right?
Yeah, but and that's fair when somebody is like dismissing you,
Yeah.
right? And you being like, look, I don't want to do that. But if that's not in play there, right? we want to just kind of leave
Yeah.
them in a better spot. So I agree.
It
Okay.
was just this weird, it was just funny that that came up because I literally just had that conversation. So it was just funny that that was in the book. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then, so, question 2 would be around compatibility, right? So there's a client who's eager to start the coaching process. They share a lot of personal information and what they expect. Then they expect the same level of disclosure from you as their coach. You prefer to keep the focus on the client and maintain a certain level of professional distance. How do you address that? So A is like, you say something like, I keep my private life private. Let's focus on you and your coaching goals. B is, while I appreciate your openness, our coaching sessions will most likely be effective if we concentrate on your journey and how I can support you in reaching your goals. C, I'm happy to share my personal experiences if they're relevant and can facilitate your growth. Shall we start discussing what areas you'd like to focus on? And D, I could recommend another coach for you. What do you think? What do you guys think?
I know the answer, so I'll let Bonnie go.
I've never had anybody want me to disclose anything, but typically, I will if it's something that's relevant to what they've gone through, because my philosophy is that we're people doing life together. And historically, people didn't counsel. They went to somebody older than them who had been through something before and had a conversation, and it would be while they were doing something together, doing life together. So I don't mind it if it's relevant, but for me, I think it's going to be, if they start crossing the line from coaching into therapy, because getting me to disclose is more in that territory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I'm there to hear them.
Yeah.
And to observe them think.
And coaching is the same, right? So for disclosing our personal information, it would more be like B, right? A lot of times, a good example of this that's not in this book is like, so Lori, what do you think? What do you think I should do? And a lot of time, and every single time my response is, it doesn't matter what I think. What do you think? Right. And this is also an example of that, of them trying to leverage what you've done in your life so they can do, they think that that's the answer. So what we really want to do is just say, like, look, like, I get it, but let's focus on you and let's not focus on me. And unless it's really something that's, if they're really, 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 really stuck and you've worked on it and they can't, and you have something that is a contribution, then maybe go ahead and disclose something about yourself. But I don't like to do that because of the fact that once I start talking about me, they then are thinking about me and not thinking about them. Right. And so we want to kind of keep it centered for them to figure it out and what they truly want.
Yeah, and when I'm doing the getting to know you, especially in business and women in tech, especially, we talk about our journeys and share journeys, but I let them know when we move to a coaching relationship, when we move to actually start the coaching, this won't continue, right? Because I don't want you thinking about me during the coaching, or I wonder what I would do in my journey, right? We really want to make sure that there's nothing that disrupts your thought process. And so if I go, oh yeah, I know that, I went through that, then all of a sudden it's not, we disrupt it. So I explained to them that while we're building the chemistry and getting to know each other, we'll probably share stories, especially women in tech, right? We have our whole, the stories, right? And like, I coach the company I used to work for, but I let them know that once we move to the actual coaching part of this, my life is not part of the conversation, or my experiences or my stories, right, that we need. So I make sure they get very clear, because sometimes I am on someone with many calls before they start coaching, and they want to make sure they want me. So I make sure I do a very hard boundary that they are very aware of. In a coaching session, my life is I'm only here as a reflection and support of their journey.
Yeah, we will only share something to become connected, but it's not to reframe what you said, like, right in the beginning, you want people to know that you've had a similar experience, because then that's what connects you and what makes you stand out to them as somebody they want to work with. But during the sessions, like you're saying, like, if you then start talking about you and you're doing more talking about you than you are about discovering them, then it's taking the shift off of them. Exactly. And so part of what we're doing here ultimately is by creating clear client agreements, we're ultimately building trust between us and our client. And so we want to clarify what the purpose is, what the roles are, like the logistics of our session, like how we're going to meet, how long we're going to meet for, what format we're going to do that in. We want to also reiterate confidentiality, right? Confirm boundaries of confidentiality. We want to also talk about how we're going to use assessments and tools and really get them to, like, everything is laid out in the contract, so there are no surprises, right? And even if you're doing pro bono clients, like unpaid clients, it's still wise for you to have this agreement signed, right? So we want to make sure that the agreement is signed, that, you know, if they have any questions. So once you're going to have a call, that you're going to make sure to see if you're in alignment. If you think that you want them to be your client, you're going to be like, great, I'm going to send you your client agreement, look that over, sign it, and then render first payment, schedule a time. And then before you get started on that first call, and then I usually say, like, look, if anything comes up with the agreement or anything like that, give me a call, or, I mean, shoot me a text or whatever, and we talk about it. And then before I get on that first call with them, I make sure that that client agreement is set. Any of the documents that I send over that, you know, that I want to learn more about them, that I've gone over them. And then we just get on a call, like we do here. And I just get right into it, right? You can go over it if you want. I personally feel like if they have a concern, they're going to talk to me about it because I've already talked about it before with them, right? So it's really up to you how you want that to go.
Do too many coaches use feedback informed treatment? So like with my counseling clients, they get a measure every week about the day before. And then before their session, I look at their numbers and I compare them to the last so that I know if they're going up or down in the areas that they're mostly struggling with. And for my clients, it's anxiety, depression, alcoholism, or suicidality. So we're measuring that every single time. And I get rated on their numbers.
Okay.
Right. So super important, but they get a chance to feedback how it's going with me as well. So I get a personal rating from them for how they feel I connected with them or whatever. I kind of like that format too. You had mentioned coaches that use assessment and things like that. So that's a thing in the coaching world, because I would like to carry that in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you can create anything that you want. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll have an onboarding packet. So when you look through the assignments, you'll see that she created a sample onboarding packet for you. And what we'll do is, like, say you want somebody to go and take the Wheel of Life, right? And like do that before. I provide assessments in my packet in case they get to a point where they want, or I feel that they should do that, and something that I feel that would be helpful. I kind of give it to them up front. And sometimes I'll just add stuff along the way and give that to them. But it's totally okay to have a set packet that you give to somebody. And like you're saying, like your feedback loop, right? Like you can 1000% provide that. It's whatever you want to provide. It's really okay.
Okay.
Yep. And then because we're an emotional intelligence course here, there's also an emotional intelligence that's going to help the agreement process as well. So again, we're going to want to be empathetic to connect with our clients, like what they want to create and like where they're getting stopped, right? We also are going to look for self-awareness on there. So we want to see whether or not what they're trying to create, or, you know, if things are realistic, right? Within the agreement, understanding, even our own strengths and our own limitations, right? Where is this the right client for us? What about their strengths and their limitations as well? And then you'll see there's also, we want to make sure that we're using communication, and our social skills to explain the client agreement to, like, in our consults. We also want to make sure that, during the negotiations, a lot of times, especially newer coaches, they just need the money. So they'll forego and forget all the things that they say that they would never tolerate, put up with, and sign up all the people, right? And we want to, and also some people, because they want to sign that client really eagerly, will become a little aggressive, right? They'll be like, okay, well, I need an answer now. I need an answer now, right? And we don't want to do that, right? We want to really regulate our emotions through our negotiations, right? We want to make sure that we're maintaining the standard of who we say we are, like we're in integrity around it, right? And a lot of times, I know I'm sure you guys have too, like I've gotten on a call and they're just like, won't let me off the hook, and it like turns me off completely. And I'm like, I am never working with you. Like, it's not gonna happen.
I went off on one of the most famous, guys who did that thing. So I guess it's not important to you to grow your business right now. And I said, or just like this. And it's funny because I just hired a lead generation person and she's 60 like me.
Mhm.
And so she's not going to do that kind of, like we're working on, different type of energy, but that whole, I guess you don't want to be better at what you do. I guess it's not important to you right now, that whole thing. And it's like, that's so out of integrity with who I am and what coaching should be, because they're not selling real coaching. That point, they're not selling ICF coaching. They're just selling something with the name coach in it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So we want to make sure that we're not missing out on those signs, right? On those feelings, on like we're being really clear and transparent with ourselves that, like, okay, this agreement is actually something that I should get into as a coach. Right. So, any questions around any of that?
No, I mean, I think you said it right, is that we just have to, not be in a scarcity mode
Yeah.
and do things that don't make sense that will come back and bite us, or not be in the best service of our client. But, but also forgive us. Like, that one client, I forgive myself, right? That's where I was at. I learned, I know better
Oh, we
now,
all done.
right? Yeah.
We've all done
Yeah.
it.
Too
Yeah.
short to be stressing about who I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I want to look forward to it. I want to come away from it myself too, feeling good about how, where things went. And I want them to come away, genuinely want them to come away feeling better than the call started.
Yeah.
And if I can't do that, I don't want to play.
Exactly.
But I think you said something that's really powerful, is that, you want someone that you look forward to coaching.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, right now I'm doing some more, corporate coaching, because it pays the bills. Right now we're buying a house, but my long-term will be switching from business to really being like an executive life coach, right? For like high performers who really want to get out, but I got to build the business, build the brand, do all that first. But so so sometimes I don't always get a choice of who I work with, right? Too, when I work for companies. So far it's been pretty good. But long term, I really want it to be my private practice only, because I really want people that I build this, amazing connection with,
Mhm.
right? And you want to look forward to it. Like if you're going into a call saying, "Oh God, I'm not looking forward to this client," then you probably shouldn't be their coach.
And they'll pick that up.
Yeah. Well, you also shouldn't be their coach.
No.
Right. Or you should reschedule the session if there's something off with you that day, and you can't, and that's something I tell my clients, is that, while I have a 24-hour cancellation rule, I live in the real world, and stuff happens. If it's a systemic problem, it's an issue, but I live in the real world, and I also have to be able to show up for you. And there are times that I might not be able to be present for you as well. So we talk about that what it takes to have a great call is that we're able to be present, we're on time, we're respectful of each other's calendars, but we do live in the world where stuff will come up. And so it's just, a way I've always talked, make sure my clients understand that, right? Because, you know, I have to be able to show up for them. I almost died a few years ago. I just sometimes have no energy for no reason because of the process that kept me alive, right? I will just run out of energy and they don't know why, right? And so I have to be able to tell my clients, I can't coach you today. They don't need to know the details about me, but you know, we do need to be able to show up for them and look forward to them.
Yeah. So the last piece in all of this then is the consult. So go through this chapter, see if you have any questions. I went over the main bullet points on this of what I thought was really important. And then at the end, at the bottom of it, or the last page, I should say, is there is an example of, there's an example of the consult, what the consult conversation looks like. So I just lost my page.
It's on page 6.
Yeah, no, I have multiple tabs open on my small screen. I don't have my big
They
today.
ate the right client for you.
And where did it go?
Page 6 at the top. Hopefully they're not eating your clients.
Oh, no, there it is. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Sorry. Okay, there it is.
Oh, God, there's a typo in there, yes. There's a typo. They ate the right client for you, yes. So yes, there's a
Oh.
typo. There's a few typos in the
Yeah, I'll let her know.
That's funny. That's a
yeah,
fun one.
I found another typo, but yeah, that's a funny one, yeah.
That's so funny.
They ate the right client for you. They were hungry, yeah.
So, okay, so during the consultation, right, this is where we're going to see if you're a good fit. So everything we talked about is going to come into that conversation. Usually set it up for about 15 minutes. I usually go a half hour. I do a short little mini session in there with them. I use the coaching techniques in order to see if they would be coachable, right? So I'm like, well, let me give you an example of what this looks like. And I'll do a really small little laser coaching session with them on one thing. I have them come up with one action item around that thing. And that way they can get a sense of what it's like to work with me. But also in that conversation, we're going to have introductions. I'm going to make sure that all the questions that I have for them are going to get answered, right? And this is an example of what that's going to look like, right? So, you know, you're going to have, if you're not going to do a small little session, then you're going to describe what it's like to work with you. You're then going to have your questions answered of what goals do they want to create. You're going to want to ask the questions around determining whether or not they're coachable and where they are right now and what has them want to come and work with you. And then you can determine to see, you know, if they're a match for you. And then once you decide that, yep, they're coachable, there's a client you want to take on, then that's when you start talking about, that's when you move into the sales conversation of like, okay, well, this is what it means to work with me. And one of the things that you want to make sure you have available is more than one offer, right? So you could have offers of one-on-one, you could have offers of, you know, whether that's every month, you know, 6 months, a year. You want to see, like, if you're into group coaching, then have a group coaching at a lower price point. If they feel that your prices are too much and you still want to work with them, like, you don't have to offer everything to everybody. But if it's somebody that you really want to work for, have just different ideas of what you can possibly provide to them. So that way, if say your standard is $5 an hour and they can only afford $3, right? And they tell you that, then, or one of the things that people might do is like, okay, well, so to work with me, it's $5 a session. How does that sound? Or, you know, however you want to word your sales. And if they come back and they're like, you know what, that's actually more expensive than I expected, then one of the lines that I like to use sometimes is, well, tell me what would work for you. Like, I really want to work with you. Tell me what would be something that you would feel comfortable with. And they would then tell me, and then we would go from there. right? So Bonnie, for you, it's going to be a little bit different because I'm sure you're going to also incorporate insurance and all that in there. But at the same time, it's the same conversation, right? Like you want to have certain, what I like to say, because students ask me all the time, and y'all are more seasoned than some other people that might come in here. But one of the things is that I always tell them to look at what is that amount of money that's going to have you go, oh my God, I can't believe they said yes to that, right? That's going to get you jumping out of your seat, like, oh, right? And then what is the least amount of money that when you're sitting on that call and you know you're going to be on there for 30 minutes to an hour, that you're not saying to yourself, this is a total waste of my time, because time is money, right? And take those two numbers, combine them and divide them in half. And then you're always in that really good middle ground of feeling that you're getting value from them monetarily, right? And that you're not just giving away your services for free. And as women, I could say a lot of times, a lot of women will always undercharge. So that's why I tell people, and I love Allison. I was like, no, I don't.
No, I
Some
don't.
right, but a lot of women that come into this will. So that's why I just tell people, like, look, take that high number, take that low number, and then meet somewhere in the middle. And like, it's okay to ask for a little bit more, right?
So the one thing I do a little differently, almost exactly verbatim what you do, is I allow them to think about that number, and then we set up a follow-on call, but we don't get off the phone call until that call is on the book calendar, right?
Yes.
And say, because sometimes they're like, a lot of my clients, they have kids in college or they're the only ones working. And so it's, okay, well, you come back with a number that you think will work for you. And I'll let you know if that number will work for me. And then I might I give them the perception of a few things were taken out of the package, right? Which is you don't get the unlimited, text of things. You only get one per month, which, I'm never going to stick to. But I give them so I don't devalue my product. I make it, I'll say, instead of a 2-hour foundation call, it'll only be a 1-hour foundation, So whatever I'll do to give it a sense of protecting them. But I usually do it as a follow-up call.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, awesome. I love that. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover today. Any comments, questions, or statements before we go on a break?
Nope.
Okay. If anything comes up on break and we want to talk about, we'll have a little bit of time before we come back. But why don't we take it's 7:10. Why don't we come back at 7, why don't we do 7:25? And then we will have our coaching session. Sound good?
All right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Perfect.
See you guys.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Hello,
Hello.
I had a question.
Yeah.
And I gotta find it now. So in the I haven't gotten the hang of where everything is located. So when I get into the class,
Mhm.
and seems to be several layers. I'm looking for the exact name here. So on the assignments, it says customize your onboarding workbook and customize your contract as part of the onboarding workbook. So the coaching agreement is the contract, yes?
The client agreement. Is it written as coach? The contract is going to be your client agreement. The coaching agreement happens in the call.
So our stuff, so the things that we have to download are chapter 4, sample coaching agreement, sample coaching log.
Mm-hmm.
And it says
Yeah.
customize your onboarding workbook, customize your contract as part of the onboarding workbook. What workbook?
So, here I'll find it in the part of the program has a workbook of tip for every chapter. There's like an assignment for each chapter, and that's what she's calling the workbook. So I will find
Chapter 4 is part of that workbook?
Yeah. And
Because I
so
don't have a package of onboarding documents anywhere that I'm seeing to customize.
yeah. So I'll take a look. It should be in the drive. I will find it for you. So if you go in the
Found the drive.
yeah. So in the drive, you will see there's a coaching model framework, updated competencies. Let me see where she put it. Is it under tasks?
I know my friend that's in another cohort said that she had gotten like a package of documents to be customized in Canva and stuff, but I don't see that in my drive anywhere.
Yes. So there's links for Canva. So hold on, I will find it for you.
I just
So
went to chapter
yep.
4
So
again.
if you go under announcements, so if you're in the forum, right? So under your class, where
Forum. So there's forum.
yep. So under forum,
Oh, I keep forgetting there's more menu options
Yeah.
there. Okay.
yep. So under announcements is where she's gonna pin. You'll see it says assignment workbook and checklist from August 31st.
Access the assignment workbook here.
Yep. So then that'll download. Make sure you save it on your desktop and work from it on your desktop and not in online. So
Okay, so
download.
that workbook I've seen. Take the assessment. Oh, okay. I'm seeing onboarding manual and client contract. There's the links. All right.
Everything. Yeah. And then this was so
I lost that document. Now I know where it is.
Okay, good. And then all of that will be and then what you're going to do at the end of this class is just send her links to your Canva, or you could download it as an attachment, however you want to do that.
All right. Pieces all over the place. Still haven't got the logistics hang of things
Yeah,
yet.
it's a little convoluted for sure.
So what is the
Platform
Canva?
is.
What am I missing about Canva?
No, a part of the assignment workbooks is going to bring you to a link for you to customize your client agreement, like client onboarding packet in the assignment workbook. And some of them are through Canva, where she's already provided the template and you just need to personalize it.
Okay, I haven't gotten up for it because again, I'm in the woods for another few days.
No worries.
Few more days in the woods.
And all of these assignments are due at the end of the class, not the last day of class, but after class is completed. So don't stress if you're not staying up with every assignment with each class, like you have time.
Good, because I see clients until class starts, so.
Yeah, exactly. So no stress at all. Okay. Okay. Are you ready?
I guess so.
Okay, perfect. So it's 7:32. So we want about 25 minutes, no more than 35 minutes. Okay? So by like you should be done and said and done by 8:07, the latest. So target around 8:02 at most.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Okay, floor is yours.
So Allison, I'm kind of excited to hear what you've got to talk to me about today. Oh,
Sorry, I was muted. I didn't realize I was
better.
muted. Yeah. Was there a question there?
Yeah, I just said that I was excited to hear what you were going to talk to me about today.
I'm teasing you a little bit about the question. Yeah, so in the past, I've done parallel consulting and coaching businesses. And my coaching business always suffered, the marketing for it. And so this year I decided to focus solely on coaching, except I kept one client, one consulting client. And I've been helping him a lot, and he's about to get funding. And so my role's gonna change. I'm gonna become an executive for the company, fractional chief strategy officer, revenue strategy partnerships. And I'm not good at time blocking and doing all these things. And right now my coaching business is accelerating, and it's really exciting, right? Everything I've wanted, because I had to shut it down for that year with my health, and I don't know yet how I'm going to manage the time so that I don't let to how to manage both and to not let my coaching business suffer. I haven't figured out how much time I'm willing to give to him. And so I don't want to fall into what happened before, where while I was focused on the consulting, my coaching business suffered. Um, and I can't for two reasons. One is we're buying a house, so I gotta have the business. And two is, this company might get sold in a year or two. I need a business to go back, to keep going. Unless I make millions on this company, I need a business to go back to. So I just don't know how to do it differently than I did last time.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you right, you got hired with another company, you said?
Well, I've been consulting. I'm as a consultant, and I'm going to switch my role from consultant to, I'll be the second employee in the company as the chief strategy officer.
Okay, and did you see that coming?
Yes.
So you knew that this was coming. Okay. So your question at today is about how to balance your time between the coaching that you really love and maintaining this other contract, at least to the end of it, and it ends up being sold without letting your coaching suffer this time.
Yes. The coaching didn't suffer, the coaching business part of it, the business building part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you do last time that it didn't seem to work? What happened?
Funny, as you get older, context switching is harder. Back and forth context switching, because I really have to context switch between three things: coaching, the coaching business, building content, and then the consulting. And I can't control when the consultant needs, when the client needs me on the consulting side, right? Or they have a task. So I just felt like it was frenetic, and I lost focus on the coaching business. I was busy, but I wasn't productive.
Right. And you said that the coaching business, to maintain that this time, is really important to you. So your plan is to do something different this time.
Trying to figure out what that is, yes.
What have you tried?
Well, it hasn't started yet. I mean, in the past, people suggest things like time blocking. That doesn't work for me, because I know it's a time block in my calendar. I know it's not like an absolute. And so if something else comes up and all of that, it just, so I've tried time blocking. I've just tried, just pushing it through. And, But yeah, I didn't have a mental plan or a time plan that worked.
Okay, and you said also that switching hats was draining for you.
The frequency of it, like one, then the other, it's like the amount of it, like, I can context switch once, maybe twice a day. Like, it's funny because the CEO is like, well, you'll just work on this and you go back. And I don't want to tell him, I'm 60, dude. It's not like that easy to do anymore, right? The brain can't ping around that much. And it's okay if it's like short-term things, like you can ask me a question on different things, but when it comes to their coaching business, you have to be intentional about that. You have to be thinking about creating the content, the reach outs, the programs, all of these things. And so it's not something like, okay, now I go back to this math equation I was working on before, right? It's different.
I hear you on that one because I'm just at 50. First of all, I can't believe you're at 60. That just blows me away. I would have guessed you like top mid 40s. So well done. But I do hear you on the switching component of it, and it is a reality as we are getting a little bit older. And it's not, I wouldn't imagine it would be something that you would want to talk to him about because it's more girl talk. So with your health, how does that work with the switching? Is that part of the impact too?
No, oh no, it's just harder as you get older, right? It's just, the frenetic energy is just more difficult as you get older. My health is mostly good, right? It's just occasional. Like yesterday, I had a rare bad day. I had to just say, we have to go back to the cabin. I just need to rest. And then it might not happen again for 9 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we
Are
don't know,
you,
is it? Yeah.
sorry,
And
go ahead.
it could have just been a bad menopause day. It doesn't have to be related to my other health, right? It could have just been a menopause energy day. Who knows?
Yes,
You know?
you're there too. Um, did you have in mind something different that you'd like to try this time?
No, it just came up literally the last email before I went on vacation is, when are you going to be able to come on board more? And I said, can we talk about that, what that looks like for you after vacation?
Mhm.
And so I said, yeah, I didn't, because, right now I get paid a little bit, but a lot of it is to the promise of equity, right? So it's like, when am I, when is, I need to know time, I need to know income, because he understands that if he's taking me away from my coaching business, there has to be income associated with it. So no, I just know we're going to have the conversation next week when I get back.
Okay. Do you have any clue ratio wise what it's going to be taking compared to coaching?
No, and it's depends on the task, right? You can say 10 hours a week, but 1 week I might only have a few hours of things to do and others it might be more, right? And so that's what I need to sit down with him and understand, because I can map okay, then this week I'm going to make sure I'm doing more development, business development, right? And like my new website's almost ready. I'm trying to create, I'm creating all the new assets, the new website, the new surveys. Still got to create my new assessment, all these things. So he knows that those have to get done before I go, but I don't know what it's going to look like yet. We haven't defined what my role is. And also it depends on the investors, how much time they expect. If they're going to give him money, are they going to expect me on full time or not? I don't know. And that's not available, right? So I don't know. The last time I tried to just do 10 hours a week. And the thing about me is when I'm focused, I can do a scary amount in a little amount of time. My brain works, I'm insecure about a lot of things in my life. I'm not. My brain is very fast. I process things very fast. So I don't like to say I work hours. I'll say, what do you need to get done? Right? Because paying me per hour hurts me in a way, right? Because well, it could help me or help me, but it's not like it's per hour, it's just per task. So I definitely need him to tell me what I'm coaching him as a first-time CEO, so I'm a coach and a consultant for him. So it's interesting. I'll be done coaching him. I'll be, chief strategy officer. I'll also kind of be his chief of staff. So I'll be advising him more than coaching him moving forward. But I don't know what he needs from me. Like, I don't know what more is. I don't know what coming on board is right now.
Okay. So you've got a lot of changes going on right now. You've got a change in a contract that you've been working for quite a while, so a relationship change, not
Well, we
quite.
knew that was coming. We knew that was coming, right? That was the hope, right? We're hoping we were going to turn this we're going to turn this idea into a real company, right? That was why I stayed with it versus, just switching to just coaching because, you get equity in a company like this as employee number 2, and it's a retire, I wouldn't say it's a game changer. This isn't going to be a billion-dollar company, but it's a retirement changer.
Okay, so it's very important. So you've got a role change coming, not sure exactly what the time commitment's going to be. At the same time, you've got your coaching business that you're working on and developing and recognizing that it had a problem. So it sounds like this is sort of a second time around isn't the right way to say it, but a replenishment of that business at this time.
Yeah, and it's better than it was before. It's even better than it was before I had my health problems. So yeah, my business is going well, but I need it to
Okay.
keep going. I need it to keep going, right? I mean, yeah, I want to keep it going because again, this company could get bought in a year and then I need a business. I don't want to start it over again.
Right.
And so I need to maintain it and grow it. And, the nice thing is that I have plans like, I have a bunch of referral companies that are smaller ticket, sounds terrible to say, but they're only 250 or 300 an hour. And I'm going to switch to just my clients, which are like 10,000 a program. So I'll be able to have less clients. And so I won't have as much frenetic because I'm only going after the big ticket clients. We're probably going to do like a membership group so I can drive some traffic there and offer group programs. So we're doing ways to make more money in less time. And as it comes, I'll be hiring somebody to manage a lot of that for me. Like right now I have a leads person, I have my business coach, and then I'll hire a social media community manager. And so as the money comes in, it's a chicken and egg thing. I'll be able to hire people to take more off my plate. And I think one thing that I need to do is let go of everything having to be my voice. I'm really like my newsletters and everything are stories, and I love the way I do things. And I might have to let go of that somewhat to hire somebody else to do it because I can only scale so much. So I think a big piece of this process is finding the right person that can be a reflection of my voice and also use like ChatGPT, which is getting to know my voice really well. But having somebody do that for me and just learning to let go, and as long as it's 70% my voice, right? And that, so I'm trying to figure it out right now. It's I just I get triggered anxiety really I get overwhelmed more easily at this point in the past. So I'm trying to be proactive and what can I do now so that how do I get ahead of it? How do I start on the right foot?
Okay. So you've brought several things to the table today, which we're obviously not going to be able to tackle in the time that we have. So of all the things that are going on, from contract changes to delegating in areas that might feel uncomfortable to you, to changing hats and managing time and wanting things to go differently this time. There's a lot in there. So what things would you like to focus on?
Well, no, it's all about how do I manage the time, right? Those are all tools of managing the time, but it's still this, I mean, this goes back to the core thing, which is my responsibilities for this company are going to change. They're going to grow, and I need to figure out how to manage my time so that I can be successful in everything and not be stressed out and, keep, and all that. So that's the same topic. It hasn't changed, right? It's how do I manage the time around this additional responsibility I'll have, in my career.
Okay, so you have been hiring people. That's a component of it. And you've been using the ChatGPT. Scaling you and scaling the business are kind of two different things. And so if I understood you correctly, this time around, you're hiring more people. You've got a chicken and egg situation going on where you've got money this time to hire. So have you lived under that system for very long, meaning having other people working for you? And
no, the lead person, I just emailed on the break because I actually supposed to get something going this week and I haven't seen it yet. No, I mean, the lead person is just starting the website, all the new assets are probably 70–80% done. And he knew I wouldn't come on board until, that I'm trying to get all the new assets, the relaunch of the new branding, new type of business, new target focus. So it's, I have that person, but finding a VA and community manager is more challenging because of how they charge, and so, young people, as we talked about earlier, they tend to have more of an aggressive voice than I would want. Older people don't work as fast as I'd like. So I'm still trying to find that person for all of that right now. And I haven't started looking yet because I don't have enough money coming in to do that. If I get if my big client gives me 2 more clients, then I'll have the resources to do it. But I'm managing debt, right? I don't want to go into debt doing this. So I do need 2 more clients before I can do any of this.
Okay. So you have, it sounds like, a lot of things on the go that you are working on, problem solving. How can I best help you today?
Well, I mean, we're talking it out, right? I mean, that's a big piece of it. It's just talking it out and challenging me, giving me, seeing maybe some perspectives I can't see or something that I, might have missed in my thought processes.
So in terms of time blocking then, how did you block your time?
I mean, you try to put like, these 2 hours, these 2 days, I'm gonna do content creation or, write my newsletter, write my, my email, my weekly email, my biweekly newsletter, create some content for LinkedIn. But, something always came up that, that time I wasn't able to allocate, that time.
Okay.
Right, because, there are other higher priority tasks that take place. So, it's difficult to time block for the consulting client. And again, as I mentioned, I know that's not a real time block. I know that the only person I'm being accountable to in that time block is me.
Right.
And so that has not worked for me.
Okay. Have you taken any coaching or classes or workshops specifically on multiple hats, time management and multiple hats?
I mean, yeah, I read, I learn, I pay attention. I mean, I coach on it, right? It's just it's different when it's yourself, right? I mean, a big piece of it, right? So it's and I don't know if it's managing the time as it is managing my energy with it, and how to stay out of the frenetic feeling of it, because there's enough time to do everything. Going back to the thing, I work really efficiently. When I'm focused, I'm scary how much I can get done. I freak people out with how my brain processes things so quickly. And so I'm not worried about the work, it's managing the energy about it, right? I don't know, I think I need to time block. I need to figure out how to, and maybe there's a way to context switch. I don't know, maybe I need to go meditate for 5 minutes before I context switch or go walk the dog, or, maybe there's something I just need to do on the context switch that will help, so that it's just a buffer. Like I tell my clients, why don't I use the things I tell my clients, right? But they come into like their meetings with so much energy, right? It's like, what do they do to add a buffer time in there? And maybe I need to practice what I preach, which is when I have to context switch, um, um, that I do something like that. The other thing just came up, I was thinking about that. The other thing is I check every email as it comes in, and I haven't learned how to let an email go and not worry about like, okay, blocking emails. It's just, I'm a ADD person. So a new email comes in, it breaks my flow. So I'll have a different email for this company. And so I will just have to make sure it's like, I don't put notifications on for it. Or, maybe I turn off some of my email notifications so I can focus. So focus is often a challenge too, because of my ADD. So I need to take my advice I give to my clients too. I need to turn off notifications for a while and do and focus on what I'm doing without the distractions in between.
Okay. You've used the word frenetic a few times. And it sounds like that's just a really uncomfortable sensation for you.
Yes.
And that comes from the hat switching. Is that what's the pressure behind that?
It feels like I have a lot of balls up in the air and I'm not catching any and they're bouncing and I'm just like there's just too much going on and there's not enough flow in it. It's just balls bouncing. Okay, I'll go catch this one. Oh, well, I'm trying to go for this one. This comes, it's like, I'm like add the dog from Up in there too, right? I'm that, the squirrel, so I have the squirrel problem and then it's just, there's just so much going on and it's the simpler days when I was an engineer, I had one project to do, right? Even when I moved into sales, it was hard managing, 50 customers. And so it's just, when they have that many open threads, it doesn't feel like I have control of the situation.
Mhm.
And so the frenetic energy is the running around trying to close each thread at the same time versus coming up with an approach to that I would honor.
But when you're focused, you really focus your brain,
Yeah.
the way you describe like a pit bull almost once it gets onto something.
I would say it's a pit bull. It's just that it's more the mental, the ability to figure stuff out really quickly. Like if I'm creating a document in ChatGPT and I have an idea, like something came, like I had a session with a client and I came up with a great phrase, right? I'll immediately go and create content around it. And then I can go into ChatGPT and say, okay, this is the idea. I want 3 paragraphs. So I don't like that. Do this, da, da, da. I mean, I can just be shocked how fast I can, and I type faster, as fast as I talk. And so I can get this thing cranked out pretty quickly when I have an idea. Like for that, like that's an example for content. Like when I have an idea, it's like, it can go, like right now I'm trying to create a couple, like a lead magnet. My coach and I will talk it out. Oh, I got 9. Okay, come 3 more. Boom, let's put it in an article. Like when it flows very fast. So it's not like a grab on and don't let go. It's that my brain can figure stuff out. Once when I grab on something, my brain can process. Like if, my friend's watching me with ChatGPT, someone wants to see how I use it and they're like, what? Like they're watching, how quickly I'm going through and like, that doesn't sound like me. That's too much. Da, 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 So that's what I mean. It's just my ability to think really quickly. I'm an engineer. I have a math brain.
Right.
I solve things, right? So quickly.
So what's the difference between when you're really on something and it's flowing and everything's going really fast, and you're being really productive, and this other sort of experience that you describe with all these balls in the air and so many threads and too much at once? And
When I'm focused like that, there's probably nothing else that is in the high priority queue that will be distracting me in the background.
okay, so distractions lead to that feeling of frenetic and too many balls in the air.
Not exclusively, but partially. It's
Okay.
the number of open threads and it's the feeling like I'm not doing any of them well. So then I kind of almost freeze sometimes too,
Mhm. Mhm.
or I'll go eat chocolate.
All else fails. So you were thinking there a little bit and realized that you could, shut off some notifications to some of the emails, which can be distracting for you. Are there other things that you can do to shut out to try to simplify it for yourself?
Well, I think turning off notifications is one. I think the first thing is to really get clarity from my client, the company, what his expectations are, because I might be making more of this. His expectations might be just give me every Friday, right? So I think it's just, I need to know, I think I might be getting ahead of myself because he's not the same person he was before. He honors the business I have. So I may, big part of it is to talk to him.
Big part.
And
So
I guess
when
I have to figure out I also have to figure out, you know, if all my assets are done and I hire somebody else, how much time do I really need? If I'm just primarily coaching and doing only, you know, and, you know, there might be enough time for everything. Because
So
right
if you,
now this, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know.
is that kind of a big part of the problem? Is there some big question marks in there still outstanding and you're not quite sure what you're gonna need?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know what this looks like yet, right? I don't know when he says, when can you be on board? I don't know what on board means. And so I might have just had a visceral reaction for nothing.
So we have just a few minutes left now to kind of get to the close of this. You had said a couple of times that you coach people on this and it's difficult to apply to yourself. If you were speaking to yourself right now, somebody with the same sorts of struggles that you're dealing with right now, what would you recommend as a next step?
Clarity, which is the first step in my process, right? Which is clarity, like what you don't know yet. You don't know what this expectation is. You don't even know the job description. You don't even know what his personal expectations are. Don't know what the investors are going to want, right? So I think the first thing is to get clarity, like to not create the problem yet because you don't know what it is, if
Right.
it is.
And so when are you going to go gain some clarity?
Well, yeah, I get back on Thursday, so I'll probably talk to him early next week.
And then how is it going to feel to finally have that clarity?
I won't know yet, right? I mean, the clarity will help, but then after clarity will come, okay, now what do I do with this, right? You know, so I might be right back here depending on what the expectations are. So I don't know yet. And then I think, yeah, so I don't know. I also have to remind myself that I'm not that person anymore either. You know, who I was even, this happened, even though this was after all my health stuff, is that I'm in a much better place now than I was there. I mean, I'm more financially stable, all my relationships, you know, everything. So it might not freak me out as much because I'm not in, I have to make money mode.
You've referred back to a previous time and wondered a few times now if some of what you're describing is frenetic. It as I'm listening to you talk, for me, it feels a little bit like angst about whether or not this is actually real and based on what's happening or something that has happened before.
Yeah, I mean, as I think about the guys I worked with before in this situation, it was like pulling teeth to get them to take action and to move forward with the company. And it's so different with this guy. That's why I wanted to work with him, right? He is a guy of action. You know, and there's a focus and a strategy, and so I think it will be easier to work with him. And and then all the other executives on the team I brought in, so I know all of them. I've worked with them all before, so it's a different culture, it's a different environment, and so I think it's just about waiting to see what happens before it happens, you know.
So we're getting near closing time, and is there anything else that you would like to just get out on the table? You brought up a lot of different really
Yeah.
exciting, fulsome things.
No, I mean, I think it's just get into the conversation and then worry, then go from there.
Okay. So you're going to be leaving here. Next thing would be finishing your vacation and then getting some clarity on what you need to do. And
Clarity
then,
on what the expectations are.
right. And then is it a fair expectation then that clarity will tell you then what your next step is?
Or it will open up more questions.
Okay.
It will get me in, it will get in motion. It will get in motion. So that's the thing, right? Getting in motion to start
Yeah.
figuring it out.
Right. You don't strike me as somebody that tends to sit still or doesn't have answers.
That's not true.
Really?
I can couch potato more than anybody. And yes, yes. I'm not as type A as my business personality comes out. I am very much, I will be crocheting later tonight, relaxing crocheting, so yes.
Okay, so the dichotomy here is the business hat versus the personal hat and the frenetic and the needing to balance out where you've got time to crochet.
Well, that's always gonna be there. I won't, my business, I don't, I've always done that. I've always balanced it with work, with vacations, being, I was an athlete, triathlete. I have never, not taken the time to enjoy my life. So that's never a concern. It's the energy managing and the business, but not, I will never be working 60, 80 hours a week again.
Okay. Well, we are about to close. Did you have anything else that you would like to address, or
No, I think we're good.
feeling good? Now, are you feeling any more relieved or open, or what would you describe between now and when we started the session?
Well, I think I need more information. I need to realize that it's not working for him is not the same as other people. And I realize that I will be hiring resources, which I couldn't afford to do last time. So it's just, it is not the same situation. So to not create anxiety for something that I don't know about yet.
Okay, so lovely. So the takeaway, if I heard you correctly, is that it is not the same, and no need to worry about things that you don't know are even going to happen yet this time.
Right.
And does that leave you a little more room?
We shall see. I don't know.
All right. Well, I thank you for coming and sharing that. It's wonderful to get to know you and all these different aspects out of you, multidimensional lady, and I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bonnie, how was that for you?
Well, genuinely fascinating. She's interesting and has so many things going on, and it's fun to really hear. And she's rapid fire, which is normally I'm really good at, but when I'm trying to, she was discussing the frenetic, I was also feeling that frenetic and wondering how to step into those shoes and how to actually manage that. And so many things came. I had so many questions all at once. It was difficult for me to pick which one I wanted to go with. Because the number of things that she's dealing with, I bet you it exceeded 30 things, which is frenetic and difficult to sort of nail down which one. So the one that I heard was that a lot of it was just talking it out, just her hearing it. So that's where I had to go.
And you just said something, that thought that you had and the way that you just summarized everything is exactly what you need to say in your call.
Okay.
Right? So when you're having that thought and you're like, look, I see how it's frenetic for you. I see that you're dealing with 30 different things. Where do you want to start? Like the thing too is like, don't choose, have them choose. And I'm not saying you did. I'm saying like that's an awareness that I want, that is an awesome awareness that you had, that's going to make all the difference for you in moving your conversation forward. So when you have those thoughts, like your intuition is screaming and you're like, okay, I have all these questions. Totally fair to be like, I have all these questions and I don't know where you want to start. Where do you want to start? And put it back on them and let them come to you, right? I felt that you held the space beautifully. I felt that you were with her. I felt that you had that silence. One of the things I want you to look out for is your and or multiple choice close-ended questions.
Okay.
Right? The second you transform that not being in your vocabulary, it'll elevate the call even more. But you stayed with her, you allowed her to choose, you allowed her to go and literally just like dump all of it, right? I could tell that you do this all day long. Right? So the only difference that the one thing that I want you to walk away with here is just continue with those open-ended questions. And what I loved what I love that you did, it was like Allison is like really self-assured. She knows herself. Like she's like a go-getter. She's like, I'm all in, right? And so the one thing that happened in this space is that like, I don't know how else to describe it, and I don't mean it this way, but I'm just going to say it this way, and I think you'll get what I'm saying. But like, she kind of took charge at the beginning of the call, right? She was like, "What?" Right? Like saying, sharing all the things she needed to say because she was like, go time, right? And Allison, this isn't a make wrong on you. It's just, if you watch it back again, like she knew exactly what she needed to say, get off her chest. Like she was just like, I'm going for it. And as a coach, it's kind of hard because then you're sitting there waiting for the opportunity to come in. And where I'm commending you is 15 minutes went by before you're like, okay, I got all that. Now what? And you went back and you got that coaching agreement where you asked her, how did you word it? How can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you best today? And you went back after she cleared herself and then was able to be present with you. You went back and you're like, okay, got all that. Now what? What do you want to talk about? And that's exactly what you need to do.
Okay.
So we manage the call, right? We manage how the flow of the call goes. The client's going to show up how the client is going to show up. Sometimes you're going to show up like Allison, like just fire, which is awesome because sometimes the opposite of that of like, oh my God, like talk to me here, right? So I love the fact that you had the awareness to go back and be like, okay, how can I help? The other thing too that I thought was really so to just go through some of the markers, you got your measure of success, 3.2, you hit that. You also acknowledged expressions with her, so 4.3 you covered.
Okay.
I also felt like you had great silence and pause. You didn't overspeak, you didn't interrupt. So 5.5, so you got something in your fives. And then competency, you explored words with her, like you went back and you're like, you keep saying this word. So 6.2 was definitely there. 6.6, no interruption, was definitely there. 6.7, I felt like you summarized it for her at the end. You definitely asked 7.1 questions about like what's currently happening. You with the expanding the outcome, that's where your close-ended questions, if they were open-ended, you would have expanded it even more. So just that's why like the one thing to take home.
Okay.
And then the client talked more, 7.8. You used very concise language, which was great. And then you also brought her to a new learning, right? 8.2. You had her apply the new learning, 8.4. And you were able to get, you like closed up the call with post-session activities in 8.5. So out of the competencies, you hit at least one minimum, and I only went through a couple, one minimum of each category.
Wow.
So the one thing, right? It's great. That's
By
what I'm saying.
accident.
No, it's just innate for you to do this. I think because of what you do all day long, and you've been in here and you've been listening to it, so you absorb it, right? The one thing I want you to do is strengthen your opening,
Okay.
right? And be like, hey, Allison, how are you? How are you today? Or like, and it could be a breathing exercise. It could be like, what do you need to clear? And then be like, all right, so what do you want to talk about today? And then if, and you're going to have two kind of clients that you're going to need to drag information out, or you're going to need to stop them because they're giving you too much. And so it's going to be that dance a little bit for you. And it's okay if it takes you 15 minutes to get there because you still were able to wrap it up. So when they give you timelines in the framework, they're just like giving you a general idea. They're not firm timelines. So when I say this all to you, what do you think about this feedback?
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, you did great for your first time, and especially because you're having a totally different conversation for 8 hours a day. Solid performance. Solid.
Thank you. It's very different talking to somebody who's really competent. The
Yeah.
type of client that comes to me is looking heavily for education,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not they don't usually come in and tell me all the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
can I share a couple things too as the client?
Yeah, I'd love, well, that was going to be my next question. So how was that how was
So
that for you?
first off, for a first time, I thought you did great. I will,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. And so this is how to get to the next level, right? So this is more, so I was teasing you at the beginning. You said, I'm excited to hear what you have to talk about today. And I was trying to lay you up and say, is there a question? Because it wasn't a question, right? You didn't start as, what would you like? Remember, like she said, I made like an open, like when I coached you last time, I didn't make it that open-ended opening
Mhm.
question, right? So it's more, what do you want to talk about today? And also because um, and there were a couple times where you brought your personal stuff in there. I know that one too. I know that one too, right? And we don't do that, in coaching, that's not that part of it, right? You don't say, oh, yeah. I know that about the mind shifting, or I know that about the this, right? Because then I'm like, oh, I wonder what she's doing. I wonder how she does it. I wonder how she deals with it, right? It gets me off of me. I think the reason I went off at the beginning was I was a little frustrated at the beginning because we didn't, I didn't know where you were going. And so I was like, well, I kind of just took over because there was no framework. I'm like, well, I'll just verbally process because I can, and I do. But I think that a few more questions to try to tighten it up. And it's okay to intrude sometime when the client goes and I know this is not to interrupt, but I think it's okay. But I really like what you said when, I was feeling all that frenetic energy. If you had said that to me, it would have stopped me. That thought you had was such a great thought. It's like, Allison, I can feel all that frenetic energy right now, right? I feel it, I hear it. Tell me what's that about right now? Like, what's going on right now? Or kind of like, or how do you break out of it? What do you need to do to break out of it? You know, so it's just, I felt like you had such a great insight afterwards. I agree with Lori on that. Like if you had named it, I think you would have slowed me down. Right.
And so this is part of the problem too, though. Like part of, and so one of the things that we need to do, um, one of the things I like to do, let me do it this way. One of the things I like to do, if somebody like Allison shows up and it's like they just dump on you, right? And like you feel like you're trying to get words in edgewise, right? And I don't mean that in the way that that's coming out,
Oh,
right? Like
so what-
because we've all been there at some point,
I'm a
right?
verbal processor, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's part of our consult, right? And like, how do you learn? How do you like feedback? What is that, right? Like we get to know our clients. One of the things that I like to call it skillfully intrude, where you're just like, okay, I literally say, okay, hold on a second. I need to catch up with you. Or hold on a second. I need to know why this is important. And it's okay for you to, if, or you could say, look, I just need to know. Do you just need to get this out or do you want to get somewhere? Because sometimes your calls are going to be where so Allison is great because she knows the process. So she supported you in getting to where you needed to go. But sometimes your clients are going to come in here, they don't understand the process and they're just going to kind of dump everything on you. They're not going to allow you to ask any questions. You're not going to feel like you're moving the conversation forward. So one of the great things that you could say is, okay, I got all that. But I'm a little bit confused as to where you want to go, or I'm a little bit unsure. Like, okay, where are you now? What would you like? And always keep reaffirming, um, go back to your coaching agreement. So that's why like the first thing to do is like, okay, what would you like to cover today? Like, what do you want to talk about? Like, however that language is, get what they want to say. And then you need to reply back saying like, okay, so what I get that you want to talk about today is time blocking. So what would you like to have? How will you know that we're successful at the end? And then have them tell you that, and then you're going to reaffirm it. So I get you want to have time blocks, and what you're really looking for are boundaries. Is that correct? And get them to say yes. The reason why we do that is twofold. One, you're going to set the tone of what the conversation is. You're going to set the goal of where you want to go, but then they also hear it back and they get to choose, is that what I really want to talk about? So they have the opportunity to change it. Once they've confirmed it, you're going to start asking your open-ended questions, right? If you find that they go down a different tangent, then you're going to be able to use that coaching agreement and be like, look, we started this call and you said you wanted to talk about time blocks, but now we're talking about you going on vacation. Explain to me how they fit. Right? And then if they say, oh, well, they kind of don't fit. So where do you want to go? Would you like to keep on the time block or do you want to go on the vacation? And if they say vacation, you get a new agreement.
Yeah, and the one thing for me was, I felt like there was a little bit of you, the novelty and the curiosity about me versus the problem that I was trying to solve. Is that I felt a little bit of that at times where it was like, ooh, this is interesting. I want to know about this versus I want to help you stick. So I felt like it wasn't always a coaching. I didn't always have a coach across the table for me. I had someone that was intrigued, but not coaching. That's how it felt, I will say.
And so that might just be because of what you do all day long.
Well, and part of it too is I felt like I couldn't get a firm commitment on what she wanted to talk about. And when I asked a second time how I could serve, it was what I heard was something to the effect of, I just want to get this all out. Okay, then I'm listening.
But I
Yeah.
thought, actually, and I thought I was clear when I said, I need to figure out how to manage my time differently when I now have this additional responsibility. That to me was the topic. It didn't change. To me, the topic never changed.
Okay.
Is that I'm now going to have more hours that I have to commit and I don't know how to manage it.
So then one of the things that we need to add is that reconfirmation. And then the other thing too is that for all of us, if we're ever at a point where we feel like the client just wants to talk it through, then we just ask that. Be like, look, I really want to make sure I'm supporting you in the best way. Do you want to go through the process and create a plan, or do you just need to talk it out? And that's like probably one of the only and or questions, right? Sometimes those are really needed to move it forward. And even if you have a client that just comes on here and says like, I just need to get this off my chest. Like I am just struggling. I just need you to listen. I still at the end of the call being like, okay, I got all of that. Now what's one thing that's going to make the difference? And then still just give them something to leave with or give them some homework to work on, right? Like give them an insight and be like, look, this is one of the things I really heard from you that I think would support you. What do you think? And then have them leave with homework. And like I have them like text me stuff like if they get more insights as they're thinking about it, then that's how I use my text messages.
Right.
But I think overall, your first time doing something totally out of your comfort zone, nailed it.
Thank you.
Very good. Very, very good. This is all the and, piece, not like or, right? This is all you did great. And here's a couple things to think about for the next time.
It
Yeah.
feels like the need to be a little more assertive. The
Yes.
thoughts are there, but I was hesitant to come out and say some of them and just be a little more forceful. And
Yeah.
it really comes down to deliverables. They're paying us money and we have, we need to deliver something. It's important to make sure that they got what they asked for.
Yeah. And then the one thing too is that if you don't have that coaching agreement, you don't know how successful you were, right? And so at the end, when you close, one of the things you're going to see on that format, and again, I didn't expect you to hit everything right today, especially as your first one. But we're going to then talk about, do they need any support, where they're going to get stopped. And then the other thing too is we gauge how successful we were. So then you ask a question along the lines of, okay, so how was this conversation for you today? Or out of a scale of 1 to 10, how successful were we? And then you're going to get their feedback in real time of like, oh man, this is what really hit home for me. And like, I love that we got here. And they're going to validate the success of the call, the success of you as a coach. And then it'll also provide you insight of what their biggest takeaway was. Sometimes we think it's one thing and then they show up and it's something totally different, right? So those are the things like as you go through, my suggestion, if you'll take it, is take one facet and add that into it. Like be intentional of like, okay, I'm going to put in accountability this call. I'm not going to forget. And as far as the questions, this is what I was saying, I think the other day, like I usually use a note paper, right? And I will write down everything that they say on this side of it, like keywords, not full sentences, but keywords that will prompt me. I use a highlighter too, if it's really one of the ones that I want to remember and keep going back to, like a feeling of some sort, like, and then any questions or thoughts that I have that are not associated, but that are coming up for me, I put them in this column. So as I have questions of like, as they're talking, I'll put words in my column that'll prompt me to go back. And then once they stop talking on that specific thing, right? And you don't have a follow-up, or if that thought that you had of like, I really need to ask about this, the way I like to segue into that is like, look, I don't want to overstep something that you said. You said blah, blah, blah. So, what came up for me was this, and then ask your question, right? So it's okay to totally go in a different realm. The conversation is not going to be linear at all. And then you could go back, let's go back to this part of it. So now that we've gone through here, like, you know what I mean? How does that impact that? And like, just kind of play around with all of it.
Yeah. And a lot of it is just being assertive, because the questions that you're asking about the end, I wanted to ask them, but I couldn't grab the wording. I knew what I wanted to ask, but I couldn't think of the wording.
Yeah. And so,
and that's being 55, from what I understand, because I wasn't like that before.
Also too, it's kind of weird in this format, knowing that I'm listening and then we're going to talk about it, right? So it's also okay for you to just take a moment of silence. And like sometimes when I'm like, I'm not sure, I just be like, look, I literally say out loud to them, like, hold on, I need to get my thought here because there's a question that I'm trying to formulate. And it's okay to provide that silence to them because they're still going to be thinking. Right? They just dumped all this stuff. They just had some new awarenesses. They're still on that track. So it's totally, you don't need to rush it at all. Right? And you don't need to fill space. Silence is going to be your friend here of, we're not doing a disservice by always filling up the space, right? Like keeping that silence, you know that, right? At that key moment when you just need to hold that silence for people, you could do that for yourself. Totally fair. Fair game.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 5 minutes left. What was your biggest takeaway from today's session or today's class? What are you guys walking out of here with that is a little bit more in tune? Something that you kind of...
For me, it's just ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting one done, right?
Yeah. And,
I would say,
sorry?
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say to you, now that you've stepped into it, now start just really taking that on. And even if you go and you just do coaching only pro bono, right? Just to get some experience for somebody who's not already versed as a coach, because we know what you're trying to do. So you could get some practice on people that have no idea what you're supposed to be doing.
Doing it on my counseling clients, actually, I think coaching is more effective.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Mhm.
And then keep me posted. Let me know how that goes and like what some of your wins are, right? And
I'm not
what
as
comes up for
tired.
you. What's that?
I'm not as tired.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
I
you're
put
moving
it
the
back
conversation.
on them.
Yeah, you're moving it forward, right? As opposed to them just always dumping on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. What about you, Allison?
Well, I mean, today was a lot of review for me. Because
Yeah.
this was a lot of stuff I'm already doing, right? I think that what I want to be figuring out is how to add the emotional intelligence piece to everything that I'm
Mhm.
doing, right? And but review is good, right? So review is always good because you know, as you've been doing this a while, you get a little lazy and sloppy on things. And so for me, this is a lot about just going back to the basics and not forgetting, like you almost take for granted them, and to be more intentional about them, I think was probably my biggest takeaway.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. Um, okay. So Wednesday we're gonna meet again, same time, same bat channel. And the thing too is we're gonna then listen to that recording. So Allison, no problem if you have to be off camera or anything like that. Cheryl posted if anything comes up for you guys, or if you can't get internet or whatever, just let her know so that way she could tell me, and we will definitely meet again.
Yeah, I mean, I can get on Zoom on my phone, but I think what I'm gonna reach out to her is to get the dial-in number, because the dial-in phone calling in will be more stable than the Zoom. Because it's not like you're sharing documents, and I have the documents. I made sure while I have internet today, I downloaded all the documents for the next class. So I'll have, if you were gonna review the documents, I'll have them.
Mhm.
Like I can
Okay,
be on
great.
my computer looking at the documents, even if I'm not looking at them on the screen. So while I had internet on the break, I downloaded the next class's things.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Perfect.
So if
Thank
you're
you for
saying sharing your screen, I can just say, tell me which document, and I'll pull it up on mine.
perfect. Yeah. I need to see what we're going to be talking about and if I'm even going to need to do that, but I love that. I love that. That's so good. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
Well, I mean, I know I'm trying not to miss any, because I might miss the last week. And so, Thanksgiving week's a little weird for our last week, like, so.
Oh,
Yeah, that's like the night before Thanksgiving, we have a class, which is a little weird.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna talk to her about, well, it depends on Bonnie's, but yeah. But we might be, so I'm trying not to miss classes before I can, and it's gonna be hard. I'll just tell you guys, like, the cabin is just my partner and I, but his brother and two friends are showing up tomorrow. And so there's gonna be four guys cutting wood, doing things, and I'm gonna be trying to find a corner where I could do this call, so. And it'd be interesting to see what happens, but I'm gonna make it work. So I might just end up literally walking up the road and standing on the hill and and sitting on a towel on the ground doing this call to get away from the
Oh,
boys, but yeah,
okay. Well, hopefully, yeah, definitely get in touch with Cheryl and see what she wants to do with that. And
yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
it should be, yeah, but I just have to find a space. It's gonna be a challenge. In worst case, I take the car and I drive back in town, but the first mile and a half to get out of the house is scary for me to drive. It's like a hiking trail at the edge of a cliff to get out to the road,
Yikes.
so.
Ugh.
So yeah, it's pretty cool where we are. Anyway, thank you for a great class, Lori.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you both so much. As always, it's always a pleasure to be with y'all. And you need
gr-
anything, let me know, but I'll see you on Wednesday.
And great
All
job,
right.
Bonnie.
All
Great
right,
job.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yay,
Bonnie.
yay, Bonnie.
One done.
Bye.
Woohoo!
Thanks.